This is your Marijuana Cultivation Cannabis Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Glansberg. We are so glad you are here. First off, I want to start out by saying that we are doing a special promotion this weekend. The first person to email me at contactmccpod@gmail.com and showing me a screenshot of you following me on Instagram at mccpod, you will get a $20 Amazon gift card. And then we'll post your username if you want and a screenshot of the transaction to my Instagram so you know it's legit. And I just thought that would be a fun way to get people to start using my email to send in questions, complaints, objections, or what's a better word for that? Disagreements of my opinions on things. I love to hear it, and it's the only way we grow. This episode is packed tighter than a well-rolled joint. And we got your juicy nuggets about terpenes, the magical molecules that give your cannabis that killer aroma and unforgettable effects. Then we're going to dive deep into soil science to help you craft a supersoil that'll nourish your plants like a 5-star meal. And finally, we're wrapping up with a slick walkthrough of GrowLink, the high-tech tool that's revolutionizing the grow game and making your grow room feel like a NASA control center. So roll one up, grab a notebook, and let's get our grow on. And this is a listener-driven show. These came from a question I posted on Instagram, and the first 3 people with good questions got put into this podcast. So shout out to you 3. I don't have the names in front of me, but oh well. So first, terpenes. The unsung heroes of your favorite strains. Well, that's changing, I suppose. Terpenes aren't just about making your buds smell like a tropical paradise or a pine forest. They're the secret sauce that defines the whole cannabis experience. These aromatic compounds are like the DJs at the party, mixing and matching to create the perfect vibe. Whether you're chasing a citrusy, upbeat high or a chill, earthy comedown, it's the terpenes calling the shots. And this is what has changed a lot in my day, at least 25, 30 years ago. It was all about sativa and indica and how much percent of what was what to get your desired effect. Now they are saying that it's more of these terpenes, hence all the interest these days, that are guiding your experience. So think of terpenes as the flavor of maestros orchestrating everything you experience when you light up. They're chilling in the resin glands right alongside the cannabinoids like THC and CBD. But while THC is busy getting you lifted, terpenes are the ones setting the mood, whether it's citrusy, spicy, or straight up skunky. Terpenes are what give each strain its unique scent, flavor, and even specific effects. They're found in a ton of plants, not just cannabis. So if you say terpene at the grocery store and they get mad at you, let them know. Fuck off. For example, that fresh pine scent when you're out in the woods, that's pinene at work. And the citrusy aroma when you peel an orange, that's limonene. These compounds are all around us, but in cannabis, they take on a whole new level of importance. They don't just smell good, they help shape the entire experience of consuming cannabis, from the flavor to the type of high you get. Now, you might have heard of the entourage effect. It's the idea that terpenes work with cannabinoids to create the overall effects of a strain. Imagine your high is a team sport. And terpenes are the playmakers working alongside the cannabinoids to bring their A game. For instance, a strain high in THC, but with a specific terpene profile, might be relaxing, while another high THC strain with a different terpene profile might be energizing. That's why two strains with the same THC level can feel so different. Now, let's break down some of the MVPs in the terpene world and how they influence your experience. Number one, we got myrcene, earthy, musky, and the reason your couch feels like a magnet. Myrcene is one of the most common terpenes found in cannabis, often associated with sedative, relaxing effects. This terpene is your best friend when you're looking to unwind or catch some Z's. You'll find high myrcene content in strains like Blue Dream, Granddaddy Purple, and OG Kush. If you're a fan of the heavy indica vibe, myrcene's got your back. Next, limonene, your citrusy pick-me-up. Limonene is uplifting and mood-enhancing, often found in strains known for their energizing and antidepressant effects. It's your go-to when you need to get a little pep in your step. Think of Super Lemon Haze, Durban Poison, and Jack Hare. These strains they'll have you feeling like you're ready to take on the world. Linalool, lavender vibes all day. Known for its calming, anti-anxiety effects, linalool is perfect for easing stress and promoting relaxation. It's also got anesthetic, I never can say that word correctly, and anti-inflammatory properties, making it a solid choice for pain relief. Check out strains like Amnesia Haze, Lavender, and LA Confidential if you want to chill out and let the worries melt away. Now, we are on to Panine. Fresh forest air in a hit. Panine is a bronchodilator, which means it'll help open up your airways and make it easier for you to breathe. If you're walking through the forest around trees that have this particular terpene, it actually makes it easier for you to breathe, and it's why we feel so relaxed in some settings in nature. I think I read that somewhere. Don't hold me to that last thing, but I think I read that somewhere. But back to weed specifically, it's a Panine is a bronchodilator, which means it can help open up airways, like I said, It's also known for its anti-inflammatory properties that can counteract some of the memory loss effects of THC, keeping you more alert. Strains like Jack Hare, Blue Dream, and Chemdog are great examples if you're looking to stay sharp and functional. Next, one I for sure don't say right, carophyllene, and this is the spicy one. It's unique because it's the only terpene known to interact directly with the endocannabinoid system. Just like cannabinoids do, it has a strong anti-inflammatory and analgesic effect. Analgesic, that's another one I never can say right. Making it excellent for managing pain and inflammation. You'll find it in strains like Girl Scout Cookies, Bubba Kush, and Sour Diesel. If you're after something that packs a punch both in flavor and effects, carophyllene ... is where it's at. On to another difficult one to say, terpenoline. It's herbal, floral, and it's a bit of a wild card. It's less common, but found in some sativa-dominant strains. And it's known for its uplifting effects and can also have sedative effects when used in larger amounts. So one of those, just depending on your dose ones. Strains like Ghost, Train, Haze, Dutch Treat, and Pineapple Kush showcase this terpene's versatility. And the last one we're going to highlight is humulene. This one is earthy and woody. And this terpene is great if you want to keep the munchies at bay. I know I can use that one because I am a fatty 2x4, can't fit through the door. Humulene has anti-inflammatory properties and is also known to suppress appetite, which can be useful if you're trying to avoid the classic munchies. You'll find it in strains like White Widow, Headband, and Girl Scout cookies. So now that we've covered what terpenes are and how they influence your experience, let's talk about how you can maximize their presence in your cannabis plants. Because let's be real, if you're going to put in the work to grow, you want to make sure those buds are bursting with flavor. So, we can start with environmental controls. Keep your grow room temperatures moderate, especially during the final weeks of flowering. High temperatures can cause terpenes to evaporate, reducing their presence in your buds. And I'm guilty of this one for sure. I don't remember to get my temperature down in those flowering stages, and I definitely do think that my terpenes have taken hits on that over the years when I don't remember. So that's a good one for me to remember. Aim for 65 to 75 during the day and then slightly cooler at night to lock in those precious terps. And I think that's a standard range of temps that a lot of people follow. I know that some of the newer science is, low 80s, and that's what I follow. And then that's what I end up accidentally leaving on into flowering. So no bueno. And then for our lighting, if we introduce UVB, as in boy, light, during the flowering stage, it can increase terpene production. And the idea behind it is this light mimics the natural sunlight spectrum. So for whatever reason, that encourages the plants to produce even more resin, which in turn boosts terpene levels. And then we can also utilize LST, or low stress training, to boost our terpenes. Who'da thunk? Not me. I always did LST just for space reasons or getting exposed to my light reasons. But no. It also helps our terpene production. And in a similar way that we're probably already doing it. We're going to gently bend the plants to expose more bud sites, and that specifically will get you more terpenes by doing that. So hopefully we're already doing that, but it gives us more terpenes, which is what wasn't something I thought about. I more just thought about making the buds bigger, getting more volume out of it. So that's cool. And then the defoliation that we're hopefully also already doing stresses out the plant slightly, which leads to higher terpene production. But obviously it's a balancing act. You want to stress the plant just enough to get a response without overdoing it. Guilty here as well as messing that up back in the day. I was like, a little bit of defoliating is good. A lot of defoliating is going to be even better, and all the energy can go to the bud sites. And nope, just stopped growing and was crappy the rest of the grow because it didn't have its photosynthesis engine of the fan leaves, at least some of them, to keep it going. So lesson learned there a while back for me. I actually have some PTSD from that, so I feel like now I under defoliate, if anything. Harvest timing. That can also affect the terpenes on our buds. As we always preach, when the trichomes turn milky white with a few turning amber, it's time to harvest. So again, this is ideal for those terpenes. If we're looking to maximize our terpenes, it's like picking fruit. We want the perfect ripeness, right? So you wait too long and you start losing that fresh flavor. And then the curing process also is a huge factor for these terpenes and keeping them part of your flower and not falling off and going away. So this is one of those classic situations of slow and steady wins the race. Cure your buds as slowly as you can. Cool, dark place. And this actually allows for the terpenes to fully develop and mature, and it will enhance the aroma and flavor of your cannabis. Use grove bags. That's what I do. And a lot of folks use glass jars with a hygrometer to monitor humidity levels. And we ideally want to keep them between 55 and 65. With the grow bags that I use, I wait until my drying cannabis is between 58 and 62 RH if I put a sample of it into a jar and check for that. Once I get there, I put it into the grow bag, and then I continue to monitor the RH within the grow bags for a few days just to make sure I have it right, and I can open it up and make adjustments if needed, or add a Boveda humidity pack if needed. But that's just the way I do it. The tried and tested most common way is definitely with those jars. But either way you do it, just make sure you do it for as long as you can. It's only going to maximize your flavor and your aroma. I mean, you don't have to do it for a year. At some point, it will start to degrade. But if you can, minimum 3 weeks after you start curing before you start using it, and then from there and several months thereafter, it's going to improve if you keep it right. And that means in the dark in those grow bags, if you're using grow bags, and with the jars in the dark also, but you're having to burp those every so often. And that changes depending on how long it's been since you've dried. But we can get more into that in another episode, or reach out to me at contactmccpod@gmail.com. If you have questions on that before I release an episode about it. All right. On to the next topic that a listener wanted to talk about. And that is soil science. So let's dig into it. What's happening beneath the surface is just as important as what's happening above ground. So, it's just as important as above ground, but it's a lot harder to monitor, right? So it's a trickier deal than dealing with our leaves above the surface, right? So just understand that the soil you use can make or break your grow. And we need to understand the intricacies of soil science. And if we do that, that'll give us a massive edge over the folks that don't. So think of the soil as the foundation of your grow. Don't just go to a nursery and get the cheapest bag of dirt you find, okay? This is where the vast majority of our effort, at least initially, is going to be used. So our soil is made up of 3 components: sand, slit, and clay. The ratio of these components determines your soil's texture and its ability to hold water and nutrients. So ideally, you want a loamy soil, a perfect balance of sand, silt, and clay. This type of soil is airy enough to allow roots to breathe, but also retains moisture and nutrients effectively. It's like getting the best of all worlds: good drainage, good water retention, and plenty of room for roots to stretch out. So let's break down those components. Sand. They are the large particles that provide good drainage but won't hold nutrients well. Sand is great for preventing water from pooling at the roots, but too much of it can lead to dry, nutrient-poor soil. And the silt. Medium-sized particles that hold moisture better than sand but can still drain well. Silt adds a bit of that water-holding capability without the risk of waterlogging. And then lastly, clay. These are small particles that hold on to water and nutrients but can lead to compacted soil if not balanced with sand or silt. Clay is nutrient rich, but too much can suffocate roots by preventing air from getting in. It's all about finding that sweet spot. Now on to nutrients, the life force of your soil. Cannabis plants need a wide range of nutrients to thrive. The primary nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, are essential for growth, flowering, and overall plant health. But don't forget about secondary nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, as well as micronutrients like zinc, copper, and manganese. Think of these nutrients as the fuel for your plants to grow big, strong, and healthy. So here's a nutrient breakdown. Nitrogen. Crucial for vegetative growth. It's the main component of chlorophyll, the molecule responsible for photosynthesis. Without enough nitrogen, your plants won't be able to grow. And those lush green leaves that soak up the sun power their growth. Next, phosphorus. Essential for root development and flower production. It helps convert energy from sunlight into chemical energy, fueling everything from root growth to bud development. If you want big, dense buds, make sure your plants are getting enough phosphorus. On to potassium, with a symbol K for some reason. It helps regulate the opening and closing of the stomata, the pores in the leaves, and is crucial for overall plant health. Potassium is like the plant's personal trainer, keeping everything in top shape and ensuring a healthy, productive growth. Now on to the fun stuff. Creating your own supersoil. It's the ultimate organic growing medium. I mean, it's rich, living soil packed with everything your plant needs from seedling to harvest. So let's talk about how you can craft your own. So here's a supersoil recipe for your base soil. Use high quality organic soil as your base. Look for something with a good mix of organic matter like compost, peat moss, and worm castings. This gives your soil a strong foundation, full of nutrients and beneficial microbes. Then we're going to add our compost. Add 25 to 30% organic compost. Worm castings are a fantastic choice because they're rich in nutrients and beneficial microbes. Compost is the heart of your super soil. So adding organic matter is part of the deal. It feeds your plants and supports the soil ecosystem. It's kind of cool. And then we're going to want to think about aeration. So we're going to add perlite or pumice to keep the soil light and airy. This helps with drainage and ensures your roots get enough oxygen. Aim for like 15 to 20% of your mix to be perlite or pumice. And this is going to prevent your soil from getting too compact and suffocating your roots. Been there as well. Done. On to our nutrient amendments. We're going to want bone meal. Provides a slow release source of phosphorus and calcium, essential for strong roots and flower production. Blood meal, a great source of nitrogen, which is crucial during the vegetative stage. Bat guano, high in nitrogen and phosphorus, depending on the type. It's like a turbo boost for your plants, giving them the nutrients they need to grow big and strong. Kelp meal contains over 70 trace minerals and growth hormones. Kelp meal is like a multivitamin for your plants, providing a wide range of nutrients that support overall health. And then alfalfa meal. This is rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium and contains growth-stimulating compounds. Alfalfa meal adds a little extra kick to your super soil, helping to promote strong, vigorous growth. On to rock dust. Add rock dust like azomite or glacial rock dust to introduce trace minerals into your soil. These minerals are essential for a healthy plant growth and robust root systems. Rock dust adds the finishing touch to your super soil, providing the trace elements that plants need in tiny amounts. Now, we gotta cook that super soil. Once you've mixed your ingredients, we're done with that part and on to the cooking. So you just store it in a warm place for 4 to 6 weeks. And during this time, the organic materials break down and the nutrients become more bioavailable to your plants. And when it's ready, your super soil will be teeming with life. providing everything your cannabis plants need to thrive. Your Supersoil, it's not just dirt. It's a living ecosystem full of beneficial microorganisms. These microbes play a crucial role in breaking down organic matter and making nutrients available to your plants. And here are some ways that you can keep this ecosystem thriving. Okay? Compost teas. Brew compost teas by steeping compost in water and aerating it. This creates a nutrient-rich solution full of beneficial bacteria and fungi that you can give to your plants. Compost teas are like superfood smoothies for your soil, giving it a boost of beneficial microbes. On to mulching. Apply a layer of organic mulch on top of your soil to protect the microbial life and retain moisture. Mulch also breaks down over time, adding more organic matter to the soil. Mulching is like putting a protective blanket over your soil, helping regulate temperature and moisture while feeding the soil ecosystem. On to cover crops. Grow cover crops like clover or vetch between growing seasons. These plants help fix nitrogen in the soil and can be turned into the soil to add organic matter. Cover crops are like nature's way of recharging your soil, adding nutrients and improving soil structure. On to no-till gardening. Avoid disturbing the soil as much as possible. Tilling can disrupt the delicate balance of microbes and fungi that make up the soil food web. Instead, layer compost or organic matter on the top of the soil and let it naturally integrate. No-till gardening is all about working with nature, not against it, to maintain a healthy ecosystem. Now, we are going to talk about soil testing and amendments. So even with Supersoil, it's essential to test your soil regularly. A simple soil test can help you check pH levels and nutrient content. If you find your soil is lacking in certain nutrients, you can amend it with organic fertilizers or compost. Soil testing is like a health checkup for your plants, helping you identify and correct any issues before they become big problems. So for your pH levels, your plants are going to prefer slightly acidic soil with a pH between 6 and 7. And if your soil is too acidic, you can add lime to raise the pH. And if it's too alkaline, sulfur or pine needles can help lower it. Keeping your soil pH in the right range ensures that your plants can absorb the nutrients they need to grow strong and healthy. Nutrient deficiencies. If your plants show signs of these deficiencies like yellowing leaves or slow growth, identify the issue and amend your soil accordingly. For instance, a nitrogen deficiency can be corrected with blood meal or fish emulsion, while a phosphorus deficiency might need bone meal or rock phosphate. Correcting nutrient deficiencies is key to keeping your plants healthy and productive. So that's all I have for you on the Supersoil. Like I said, reach out to me. Contact mccpod@gmail.com if I messed up anything or if you have any questions on that. And now, our last topic of the day, GrowLink. We're going to talk about what I know. I'm not a huge expert, but I did a little research before the episode to try and bring some value to you guys that are looking into it or getting going on it or needing some help. And I do know a couple of guys running this as well that who have been running it for a while, and I can certainly reach out to them with any questions. If you happen to have any, reach out at contact mccpod@gmail.com, and I can pass them along and then pass them back. All about the community, right? All right, so GrowLink is like for your tech-savvy growers, right? It connects to all your environmental controls like HVAC, lighting, CO2 systems, and irrigation. They have a network of sensors and controllers that do this. And you can monitor and adjust everything from your smartphone or computer. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's kind of like having a grow assistant that never has to sleep. That's what I need because I need more sleep. How do we set up GrowLink? First, install sensors. Place temperature and humidity sensors at canopy level and in different zones of your grow room. This will give you accurate readings of your environment. CO2 sensors can be placed in your pots to monitor water levels in real time. Proper sensor placement is key to getting accurate data, so take your time with this step. And then connecting your environmental controls. First with the HVAC system. Connect your HVAC system to GrowLink to automate temperature and humidity control. You can set it to maintain specific parameters, adjusting as needed throughout the day. And this ensures that your grow room stays within the ideal temperature and humidity range for your plants. And then for the lighting, integrate your grow lights with GrowLink to create a custom light schedule. You can also use light sensors to adjust intensity based on plant needs, which is very cool. This helps you mimic the natural sunlight cycles that is harder to do with traditional indoor operations. And then onto the CO2 system. Connect your CO2 system to maintain optimal CO2 levels. GrowLink will adjust the release of CO2 based on real-time readings from your sensors. Proper CO2 management can significantly boost your plant growth and yield, so it might be worth getting it right. Onto the irrigation system. Automate your watering schedule based on soil moisture readings. That's so cool. GrowLink can trigger irrigation when the soil reaches certain dryness, ensuring consistent watering. This reduces the risk of overwatering or underwatering, helping you achieve healthier, more productive plants. On to the fun part, at least for me. Software setup. Download the GrowLink app on your smartphone or access it via a web browser on your computer. The app will guide you through setting up your devices, connecting them to the network, and configuring your environment. Set your desired parameters for temperature, humidity, CO2 levels, and light schedules. You can also set up alerts, which is key to notify you if anything goes outside of these ranges. This software is intuitive and easy to use, so even if you're not a tech wizard, you'll be up and running in no time. And PSA, I'm not getting any money for talking about this. I'm not getting any money from GrowLink. I just became a fan when I was researching it before this episode and talking to my buddies that use it. So how can we... Now, in terms of specific settings, I mean, there's a million of them I could talk about here. Excuse me. You can imagine all the different ways that you would want to dial this in based on your, am I in the vegetative stage? Am I in the flowering stage? Our ppms of CO2 is going to be different at each stage. Our lighting cycle obviously is going to be different at each stage. So I'm not going to go through all the settings that one would need and what I would do with them, because I think if you're at the point of using GrowLink, you can dial that in for yourself better than I can here in a general way. Okay. I did ask my buddies who use this if they had any advanced tips, and they said use cameras. So this helps you catch issues like pests and mold. It's just an extra layer of security, because what'll happen is as we automate more and more, we're checking our plants less and less. At least I am, going down to the basement and opening the tent, and, it's when I'm busy all day with kids and a real job, I sometimes don't feel like doing that. So when I know I have my automation going, I can go a while without checking my plants, and having that camera just to pull up every once in a while when I'm at a stoplight or scratch that, we'll edit that one out. When you're waiting for the bus, you can just pull up that and check it out and do a quick visual inspection, and not seeing any of that mold, and we're good to go. There's also something that you might not notice right away. It has a like an advanced scheduling feature. So for instance, like you can schedule a nighttime drop in temperature or a mid-cycle CO2 boost all automatically. So I wouldn't know how to do that, but you could figure out how to use that advanced scheduling to fine tune your grow with that system. And that would be fun. That would be fun. And, obviously don't be afraid to experiment with the settings. Use the data logging feature to test different settings and see how they affect your plants. And this will help you fine tune your grow even more. Big one, especially this summer in my part of the world. Backup power supply. We have lost power a lot and I don't have a backup, so I'm constantly anxious about my plants, especially if they are flowering, because then I have no cooling and no dehumidifier going. So I've been looking at backup power supplies. I don't have one yet. If you know of a good one, shoot it over to me at contactmccpod@gmail.com. I would love to hear what you're using because, man, I don't remember it being like this as a kid growing up and losing the power all the time. But it's just been horrible this summer where I live in Finland. So I guess that's a wrap. This was a listener requested episode in terms of the topics. Like I said, the top 3 topics. And my dog just walked into the room, so excuse the clackety clack. Anyway, so as always, what did I mess up? Let me know at contactmccpod@gmail.com. I'm not going to do listener questions today, just because this was a listener-based episode, so that'd be too much listener stuff, I think, for the average listener or viewer out there, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to move over to cannabis news. And what's fun is it's been a little while since I've recorded an episode, and a lot has happened. So I always do this last because I hope that in the future, if you're listening to this, there is no cannabis legal news because it's treated like tomatoes and there's no more issues, right? But unfortunately, that's not the case. Where I am, it's legal, but it's not totally legal like beer. There's no limit on how many cases of beer you can have and stuff like that. That still is kind of annoying. So, and then we have, the rest of the world to worry about too. So that's why we cover the news. All right. So first off, more rumor than news, but I've been hearing that TSA has become less friendly to the THC in our friendly skies. They have some sort of test that they can swab quickly on the top of your vape, right? And find out it's THC and give you a felony right there. So next time I have to travel in the US, I will be waiting until I land and acquiring my medicine there. And there's an article from the Guardian saying the amount of cannabis seized at UK airports triples in less than a year. The vibe I had been getting up until recently was it's okay to fly with it. They're looking for bombs. They don't care about a little bit of weed. But when you see a headline like that, is it because there's a lot of drugs being trafficked, or is it because they're going after it more? And maybe it's both. It's disappointing that in an age where we know our security is lacking when it comes to actual physical danger, that this is still something that we spend our own money, our own tax dollars, if you're in the USA or if you're in the UK or wherever these things are happening, you're paying for this bullcrap. Okay. In other news, pot stocks fall as US DEA pushes cannabis reclassification hearing to December. Now, as an outside observer outside of the US, just looking in, I'm shocked that the incumbents, whoever they may be, whether it was Dem or Republican, in this case it's Dem, did not get this done prior to election day. It boggles my mind. We all saw that they were doing it as a play to get votes. And They didn't do it quick enough. The election's going to be decided before this damn DEA hearing. I mean, come on. Do a executive order, you know? Don't these politicians always pull this shit in the last minute to try and get votes? This seems like the most obvious, biggest one that would actually benefit the people. Anyway, I always get upset in these segments, don't I? Let's do a positive one, eh? Home Depot will stop testing workers for marijuana and limit drug screening for most employees, internal memo shows. This comes from the Marijuana Moment. Home Depot, one of the largest employers in the United States, is shifting its employee drug testing policies to remove cannabis from screening panels entirely and stop pre-employment drug testing of most of its workers. Right, like, the boss is concerned of, did you get the job done? And if you didn't get the job done, they're not going to say, were you on drugs? No, they're just going to get rid of you. So it's a moot point. I love seeing more companies move to this. It's just such a waste of resources and causes undue stress on potential candidates who oftentimes are prescribed the shit or it's legal. So a place like that, I mean, that's one of the biggest businesses over there in the U.S. and we'll see plenty of dominoes fall after this. I was thinking Home Depot was a pretty conservative company too, so I bet it has to do with not being able to find good candidates that aren't popping hot for weed because everyone's smoking it these days and they can't afford with the labor market as it is to turn away anyone that wants to work, it seems. So very cool. That's about it for the news stuff. I don't have any more that I want to get into because it's all depressing. So we're going to wrap this mofo up. Again, contact mccpod@gmail.com. First one to email me saying they heard me say that with a screenshot of them following me on Instagram, mccpod, M as in Mary, C as in cultivation, and C as in cannabis, pod, will get a $20 Amazon gift card and we'll post it on my Instagram and I'll tag the winner so we know there's no hanky-panky. And yeah, I want to get more of that interaction rolling with you guys that are listening. I see the numbers. I know you're out there. And I think that would be really fun. I just started this podcast because I don't have a whole lot of people to talk about weed with. It's legal in the country that I'm in, but there's still a stigma. So I just don't really talk about it with folks in my town. So you're my town. Shout out to James A. Garfield Studios for letting us use the space and bring my dog. Shout out to the team here. I don't know how to do the editing, so thank you for doing that for me. Thanks for listening. Hit me up on Instagram, mccpod. Had a great time today. You want to go home? Let's go home. Get up here, doggy dog. Peace.